Hello everyone. Today, I have a story that's bound to leave you speechless. It's a tale of manipulation, heartbreak, and ultimately, poetic justice. Buckle up as I share how my evil mother-in-law tried to ruin my marriage, but karma had other plans. Welcome to the story of my evil mother-in-law ruined my marriage, but karma struck back harder than ever. Let's dive in. But don't worry, justice was served and my evil mother-in-law Nessa did get her karma in the end. To start my story, I must mention that I met my husband Logan in college. We were both studying abroad and I had no idea how horrible his mom truly was. From what I had heard from Logan, I only had admiration for the woman. Nessa was a single mom to Logan since his dad died when he was a teenager. It was a rather tragic situation. While coming home from a dad-son trip, their car crashed and only Logan survived it. His father was alive for a very short while and passed away 2 days after the incident. Logan had moderate physical wounds, but his mental trauma was something that just wouldn't go away. Logan had always talked about how he was grateful to have his mom step in and take care of him. Nessa was a fighter and raised a fine young man. So I only had positive thoughts about Nessa until I actually met her. This is how our first meeting went. Nessa, I'm so happy to meet you. I was actually looking forward to getting to know you because of the stories Logan told me. You truly are a remarkable woman. That I am, Zoe. I'm glad you could see that early on. I'm not someone to be messed with. I did have to suffer a lot raising Logan alone. Yes, you have truly raised a fine young man. Logan has landed such a great job and is so good at taking care of others. He loves you a lot, you know. He has achieved so much to make you happy. I hope you're proud of him. Why should I be proud of him? Logan has only done the bare minimum. I deserve that after losing my husband due to his stupidity. I swear Logan had gone rock beside me. I was seriously taken aback by Nessa's words as well. I had no idea how to react to that. What Nessa said was nothing short of mean and horrible. I said, "What do you mean, Nessa? It's very unfortunate that your husband died in an accident, but what does Logan have to do with it?" "Oh, well, he had everything to do with it. If Logan had not insisted on leaving me alone and going on a dad-son trip, my husband would still be alive. It is because of him that I lost my dear husband. Am I right, Logan?" "Yes, you're right, Mom. I really shouldn't have insisted on that trip. I'm sorry, Mom." Did you see that, Zoe? Even Logan accepts his mistake. That is one of the reasons why he is so close to me. I am his responsibility now. Let me warn you, Zoe, Logan will always put me before you. He will always remember his duty to me. Guys, the dinner was an eye-opener for me. I sat there in shock while Logan kept his head down and just took the blame for his father's death. Nessa had a gala time blaming him and reminding him how she should always be his priority. I stayed with Nessa for 2 days and what I heard broke my heart. Nessa actively blamed Logan and has been doing it his entire life. That way she kept him under her thumb and made him fund her life. It was just bizarre and I felt bad for Logan. One night I sat him down and tried to make him understand how wrong Nessa was. I said, "Logan, you shouldn't listen to your mother. She's just trying to control you by shifting the blame for the accident on you. This is not okay." "Zoe, Mom's right. In a way I am responsible for Dad's passing. I've already accepted it. You don't have to feel sorry for me." "Logan, you are crazy. You need to seriously get some distance from your mom and analyze her ways. She's emotionally manipulating you and taking advantage of you." "Look, Zoe, even if you're right, what can I do? I need to take care of her. She's the only one I have left. Before my dad died I had promised him that I would do everything to help my mom. I can't back down on that promise. It's true that I took Dad away from her. I want to make up for that mistake. It's my duty." I tried my best to make Logan understand what a snake his mom was. But he would never listen to me. Nessa made good use of his fresh trauma and manipulated him into thinking that he owed Nessa everything in his life. Nessa was taking full advantage of that. My good opinion about her was already in shambles and I started to hate her. Nessa wasn't stupid. She knew that I would try to make Logan see the truth about her. So she constantly created trouble between me and Logan. Despite everything, I married Logan because he was an amazing man. I knew that his love for me was true. I also knew that I couldn't just walk away from him knowing how vulnerable he was. We got married and soon Logan purchased an expensive mansion for us. Guess who showed up right after we moved in? Yes, it was Nessa. One day she just showed up with her stuff and declared that she would stay with us. Why, you may ask? Of course, because she deserves it for losing her husband due to Logan's fault. I swear even typing this out makes me want to knock her out. You could only imagine my anger when she sat in front of me and berated Logan for not inviting her sooner. Logan, of course, gave in and allowed her to stay. He was already shouldering her expenses and paying her rent, so it was nothing new for her. But it turned out to be a nightmare for me. Nessa made my life a living hell. She started to manipulate Logan into thinking that I was a gold digger who didn't want him to take care of her. Yes, I didn't want Logan to shoulder all of Nessa's expenses because she was a toxic manipulator and abuser. I don't know why she thought I was a gold digger because I contributed to the household and had a job, albeit not as good as Logan. Anyway, after a year of fights and screaming matches, I have had enough and left the house. I moved into a friend's empty apartment and gave Logan an ultimatum. I said, "Listen to me, Logan, I can't live with your mom like this. We have been taking all her responsibilities and she is still running around abusing us. Hell, she had moved on to trying to break us up. I can't take this anymore. You refuse to punish her or do anything about this situation. Zoe, what can I do? You know I can't speak against my mom. I'm the reason she's alone and without a partner. I don't have the place to tell her off. I'm so sorry, Zoe, I want to support you but I don't know how. Listen to me, Logan, you have to see past your mom's manipulating tactics and take a stand for us. This can't continue. I won't go back to that house while she's there. If you think you can't do anything, then it's best we get a divorce." I was honestly tired of Nessa and at the end of my wit, so it was natural for me to consider divorce. I didn't want to be with someone who wouldn't stand up for me, but Logan wasn't willing to let me go. He immediately panicked and started to beg. He said, "Zoe, I can't evict my mom from the house. I promised my father that I'd take care of her. I won't be able to make her homeless or kick her out, but I will buy a new house, Zoe. I'll sell whatever I own and buy a house for you." No, I don't think that would be a good idea. As much as I want to get away from your mother, I also don't want to financially cripple you. Fine then, you can. I'll pay the down payment and take a mortgage. I promise I'll get you away from my mother. If I leave her the house, she will at least create less problems in our life. I'll slowly cut her off, Zoe. I promise you that I will make sure you never face this situation again. Logan literally begged me to give him a chance. I won't lie to you guys, but I did feel hesitant to accept his request. I did love him a lot, but I was doubtful that his mom would leave us alone. However, after a lot of careful consideration, I decided to give him a chance. But things would be different for us. It was hard to start a new life with Logan. Nessa threw a fit when he talked about moving out. Thankfully, Logan pacified her by saying the house would be hers and she wouldn't have to leave her favorite place. Also, Logan promised to send her an allowance every month so that she wouldn't have to fend for herself. While this was going on, I continued to stay apart from my husband. I wanted to see his resolve and only waited till he had purchased a house and started the mortgage payments. He was the one who set everything up, so I knew he was serious. 2 months after the house purchase, I moved back in with Logan. Nessa threw a fit and tried to cause problems. She stormed into our new house and said, "Why the hell is that witch back with you, Logan? I thought we had gotten rid of her for good. You don't need a gold digger in your life like that. Look at this, Logan. She even made you buy a new house. Mom, you have no right to say what I do with my own marriage. You wanted Zoe gone, but I didn't. We have decided to mend our relationship and marriage. You should be happy for us." Why the hell would I be happy, Logan? First, Zoe tried to kick me out of your house and now she made you buy her a new house. She's just proving me right in thinking that she is a gold digger. Why would you still want that in your life? Mom, I love Zoe. Buying a new place was solely my decision. Zoe had nothing to do with it. You are not a saint either, Mom. You did create a host of problems for Zoe too. So far, I have never stood up against you, but you are taking things too far. Don't make me regret supporting you, Mom. My dear mother-in-law turned pale when Logan talked to her like that. She had never expected Logan to stand up for me like that. I know that to most people it is nothing remarkable, but to me it was. I knew how much strength it took Logan to stand up to his mom. Nessa, of course, cried and lamented about how he was treating her very cruelly. It was a complete drama and I wisely kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to interfere and somehow give Nessa the chance to make me the bad guy again. Plus, I didn't even have to say anything. Logan continued to covertly threaten Nessa about cutting off her monthly allowance if she continued to cause problems. That shut her up eventually, but Nessa's words also gave me some food for thought. When Nessa was gone, Logan started to apologize to me again for his mom's words. He was worried that I would bolt after the small incident. He was really caught between a rock and a hard place. It honestly made me feel very sad for him. It was then that I decided that we needed some more changes. I said, "Logan, I really appreciate how you stood up for me today. I know it's not enough and a little late, but I appreciate it anyway. I will do that again if Mom tries to create problems, Zoe. Please don't leave me again. I swear I will make things right." Logan, I'm not leaving for now, but we would need a little more change after today's incident. It has got me thinking about certain stuff and what more needs to be done. Logan immediately jumped to hear my suggestions. It warmed my heart to know that he was willing to do what it takes to make us happy. That's how I got the confidence to proceed with my suggestions. I said, "First of all, I think we need to see a therapist. We need both individual therapy and couples therapy. It will help us fix our relationship better and make you unlearn that shit that Nessa has been teaching you since your childhood. Absolutely, Zoe. I've been thinking about the same thing. It's difficult for me to stand up to my mom due to my childhood. Mom really made sure I always felt guilty about standing up to her. Only therapy can help me in this regard. What else do you have in mind? I would like to start paying the mortgage on this house. What? No, no, no. I decided to buy a new house. I need to prove to you that I am committed to us, Zoe. You already proved to me that you are committed to making this marriage work. But I need the world to know that I am not a gold digger. For that, I need to have an equal contribution to this house. You already made the down payment, so I will take over the mortgage payment. Eventually, we will put both our names on this house. Logan did protest a lot when I suggested this. He was adamant that he would pay for the whole house. Hell, he even suggested I put my name on the deed without paying anything. But I strongly disagreed with that. I knew that if I had taken up his offer, his mother would be proven right. She would have convinced everyone that I am after Logan's money, which I am definitely not. The best course of action was for me to pay the mortgage and eventually have my name added to the house. After a lot of discussion, I convinced Logan to do what I had planned. From the next month onward, I started the mortgage payments on the house. 2 years passed and things were great between me and Logan. In our new house, we were able to have a happy married life away from Nessa. She did try to meddle and cause problems, but Logan put her back in her place every time. Therapy helped a lot and Logan was able to let go of the guilt that his mother had instilled in him. The two of us were very happy and Nessa was a distant problem from our past. But everything came crashing down when Logan was diagnosed with a rare disease. The diagnosis came late and there was very little we could do to help him. He was given 4 months to live. It is difficult for me to describe what the diagnosis did to me. It is even more difficult to explain my mental condition when he passed away just 3 months into the diagnosis. What I can say is that I was able to make the most of what little time I had left with Logan. Thankfully, Nessa didn't interfere much, or rather Logan didn't allow her to. But when he was gone, Nessa didn't stop the venom spilling out. Just 2 days after Logan's death, she strolled into my house like she owned it. I was angry and said, "What the hell are you doing here, Nessa? I told you to stay away. Why would I listen to you, Zoe? This house will soon be mine anyway. I've just come to see it before I take full ownership of the place. You are freaking crazy, Nessa. This house is mine. There is no way in hell that I would let you take it from me. Oh darling, this house was Logan's till he died. I know that you guys never ended up adding your name to the deed. Before he died, Logan had promised me that I would receive this house in his will." Nessa's words made me panic instantly. She was right about the house. As the years passed, we didn't have the chance to put my name on the deed. It was actually still completely in Logan's name. Now Nessa was saying that Logan had promised her the house. I had a hard time believing that Logan had betrayed me so cruelly, but until the will was read, there was no way to tell. On the day of Logan's funeral, things were tense between me and Nessa. We were both pretty sad, although Nessa made a big show of crying every time someone came near her. How did I know? Well, she actually smirked at me when people left me to comfort her. It was starting to get on my nerves, especially because I really wanted to grieve my late husband in peace. I didn't want to make that day about me, so I kept my mouth shut and avoided any confrontations. The real drama started when me and Nessa were called by Logan's lawyer to read the will. When the will was finally read, I discovered to my great horror that Logan had indeed named Nessa as the new owner of the new house. I was honestly in shock while Nessa laughed in my face and kept saying how Logan would always put her above me. The lawyer sort of gave her the stink eye to keep her quiet while he read the next part of the will. While I couldn't understand why Logan would give Nessa a house that I was paying for, the lawyer read the rest of Logan's will. Nessa didn't pay attention to it because she was busy laughing at me, but I knew what my dear husband had done when the entire will was read. I smiled a little at Nessa when the lawyer said, "So, as you can see, the smaller house that was purchased recently will go to Mrs. Nessa here. Oh God, my son does love me a lot, doesn't he? He left me 2 freaking houses while his gold digger wife didn't get anything." I'm not sure you understand the will correctly, Mom. Maybe instead of laughing at your daughter-in-law, you should have paid more attention to the last part of the will. What? What are you talking about? Well, let me put these simple words for you, Mom. The bigger house that you're living in right now is going to Zoe and the smaller house with an active mortgage is going to you. This means you will have to empty your existing place and take on the mortgage at the smaller house. Nessa's face completely changed when she realized what Logan had done. Her precious son hadn't left her everything in his will. Instead, he had left her a small house with an outstanding mortgage that she would have to shoulder. I, his wife, ended up inheriting the bigger house from which Nessa had forcefully made me move. It was the last bit of revenge that my dear husband took on my behalf. Nessa was in complete shock. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She said, "Excuse me? What are you even talking about? That can't be true. My son would never do that to me. You are lying. This is some sort of a scheme against me. You are accusing me of being unprofessional, Mom? That is a serious allegation that I won't entertain. I will provide you with a copy of the will so that you can cross-check the facts. Oh, hell yes. I am going to take a copy and see for myself. The lawyer looked pretty ticked off as he handed us both the will. True to his words, the will stated what the lawyer had already told us. My husband hadn't betrayed me. He actually screwed Nessa over as a last act of revenge. I knew he did it for both me and him. He was finally able to teach Nessa a lesson. Seeing Nessa's face, I could tell that she wasn't pleased. She started to cry and yell at both me and the lawyer. It was just bizarre the way she was behaving. Even the lawyer looked like he was at the end of his wits. Nessa kept saying, "This is bullshit. This can't happen. Someone has sabotaged this will. This will is 100% genuine, Mom. Mr. Logan had himself drawn it up a month before he died. And this will is rock solid. I will contest this will. I won't let Zoe take what's rightfully mine. I will sue you, Zoe." "Go right ahead, Nessa. Your son has made sure that the will is ironclad. You can't do anything about it. If you want to contest, you will have to use your own money. By the way, I hope you realize your allowance will stop from next month." Nessa looked at me in panic when I said that. She hadn't thought about that either. She was so used to having Logan take care of her that she didn't even plan what would happen when he wasn't around. I guess she had really thought that Logan would leave her everything in his will. So my little warning sparked some doubts in her. She said, "No, no, no, that can't be possible. I'm entitled to an allowance, right?" "I didn't think so, ma'am. Since there is no clause about an allowance, it means you are not entitled to any. Besides, the will clearly says that all monetary possessions of my late client will go to his wife. So any allowance you get will depend on your daughter-in-law. If you think I will give you any money, you need to think again, Nessa. That will never happen. So don't even bother asking me." "No, no, this can't be happening." Nessa sank to the floor crying like a banshee. The lawyer and I ignored her to carry on our own conversation. She remained on the floor crying and cursing me out while I casually strolled out of the funeral home after I was done. Nessa had her karma served to her and it was now time to face the music. As the days passed, Nessa desperately tried to go against the will. She spent the last bits of her money trying to find a lawyer who would contest the will. Well, to no one's surprise, everyone refused. While she was busy doing this, I had served her an eviction notice. The house she lived in was mine now anyway. As the month was up, she tried to beg me to let her stay there. She even tried to use her crocodile tears to make me give her money. I closed the door on her face, of course. I was living with a friend and moved into the big house where Nessa was forced to move out. She moved into the small house and was stuck paying the mortgage. Since she had no money of her own and no job, she had to ultimately sell the house. The sale needed to be quick, so Nessa lost out on a lot of money. Not to mention the fact that the house wasn't even paid off completely. All in all, she only got enough money to support her for a year. I was there in my new house watching her every move. I saw her destruction with my own eyes. My stupid mother-in-law didn't even last a year with that money. Her terrible financial decisions made her homeless and penniless well within 8 months. Nessa did come back to beg me for help again. She tried to emotionally manipulate me by saying that her son would have wanted me to help her. I laughed in her face and told her son already made his intentions clear. She didn't like that one bit. This time she couldn't even form a retort because she was down on her luck. Karma is truly an amazing thing. I saw her last week when I was out grocery shopping. She works at the cash counter now. She pretended not to know me. It was well and good with me. I didn't even feel sorry for her. I heard she's renting a place with 5 people now. All I can say is that she deserves it. As for me, I'm content being single in a big house and with the beautiful memories of my husband. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Welcome back to the channel, dear viewers. Tonight, we explore a tale of marital discord and familial expectations that has left one woman questioning everything. The story is titled, "My Husband Demanded I Become a Stay-at-Home Mom, and Now We're on the Brink of Divorce." Join me as we uncover the events that turned a joyous expectation of a new family member into a battleground of values and identity. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into this heart-wrenching story. Okay, I already know it sounds bad, but I, 35 female, and my husband, Jeff, 37, are currently expecting a boy, his first child, my second. I got pregnant with my first when I was 18, and his dad was never in the picture. I work as a substance abuse counselor, and I love my job. However, this is where it gets tricky. My job offered me 8 weeks of PTO for when I have our son. I was so happy because I didn't want to return to work right away. Jeff and I got together when I turned 30, and he moved in with me because I own my house. We just got married this year and have talked about childcare multiple times, so he knows I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Well, I'm due in November, and he just brought this idea up. I was baffled because we've already talked about this, but I guess my mother-in-law and sister-in-law believe I should stay home with our son as a mother and a wife. I just don't understand where their opinions come in because I already know where they stand. Both stayed home with the kids. All three of them sat me down to have this talk, and they wanted me to focus on the kids, cleaning up the house, making dinner, and all of that. But I already work and do those things. Well, mother-in-law decided to throw it in my face that I never got to be a stay-at-home mom because I was a single mom going to school and working, which she's not wrong, but it made me angry that she brought it up. I told them that I work so hard to give my son a good life, and having another baby doesn't change my decision to keep doing something I love, and that if they all want someone to take care of the house and kids all day, Jeff should be a stay-at-home dad because I make more money than him, and it would make more sense for him to stay home instead of me. It turned horrible after that. I got yelled at by mother-in-law and sister-in-law that it's not his role as a father to do those things, and that he's the man of the house and should be the one making money. Jeff just stood there not saying anything, and I blew up and reminded all of them that it was my house, not his. I kicked mother-in-law and sister-in-law out, and Jeff was so mad at me that he went with them. He said he won't come back till I apologize to all three of them. So, am I the idiot for not wanting to be a stay-at-home mom? Nope, not the idiot. OP, you make more, it's your house, your in-laws are dinosaurs, and your husband just proved that he doesn't have your back. Bonus, here's your to-do list for tomorrow. 1. Change locks. Number 2, make an appointment to see a family lawyer about custody, parenting time, and child support in your jurisdiction. 3. Research them on the internet in the meantime. 4. Resolve that none of those 3 people gets back in the door unless they provide you with a fulsome, sincere apology. Sorry about the marriage, OP. I hope it was fun while it lasted. The thought of my husband bringing my sister-in-law and mother-in-law into my house to tell me what to do with my life, especially after discussing exactly what I want, makes my blood boil. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Please reevaluate your relationship with Jeff and whether or not his value systems are compatible with yours. Do you want your son to be taught this drivel about how he needs to grow up to be the man of the house? Do you want the rest of your life to be cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the children for Jeff? Because presumably, he won't lift a finger to help you, because that's not his job. Because that's what's going to happen if you stay with this man and let him and his family treat you like this. Please be compassionate to yourself and your children and realize that you deserve far better. My vote is for the husband set up mother-in-law and sister-in-law to deliver this message. And he didn't do it with the goodness in his heart of having the baby have a stay-at-home mom. He did it so OP would take care of him like his mom used to. Flags everywhere. Update. It's currently 1:15 a.m. and Jeff just called me. He informed me that he cleared out our joint bank account and deposited it into his account. Bill money, savings for future trips, and grocery money that he's been thinking. And the only way he'll come home is if he can be responsible for all the finances. And I put his name on the house too. I said absolutely not and hung up. I've already reached out to my boss and I'll be working from home via virtual meetings. I'll be calling and talking to attorneys tomorrow morning to see what my options are. I didn't let Jeff know I'd be home, so I'm sure he'll try to stop me. Where I live, real estate developers have started snatching up family homes, bulldozing them, and building enormous $2 million houses on plots of land. Unfortunately, the houses also stick out horribly in terms of aesthetics. Think single-level brick homes with 3-level gigantic white and black boxes in the middle. My home's been in the family for several generations. We've always been known for having a large, beautiful garden. We invited over kids to help with gardening. We gave away so many veggies. We'd hold parties, etc. It's been a neighborhood treasure for years. Until developers snatched up the lot next door, bulldozed it, and erected an enormous house that blocked the light to most of the garden. Many of us tried to fight it with the city, but everything was denied. It was heartbreaking. Our neighborhood has been changed forever. This was a link to my family, and I almost have had to go through a grieving process for it. The new owners moved in and were not welcomed warmly by the people in the neighborhood. I avoided them for as long as possible. Other than politely waving or nodding, it was a young couple in their early 20s. We finally came face to face, and the woman asked if we could chat. She said she felt like maybe they'd done something wrong when they moved in, or if they weren't pulling in their trash bins or something, being too loud, etc., because people haven't been friendly. The guy says that he's surprised, considering it felt like a nice and somewhat affluent neighborhood. And given the price, he was expecting friendly neighbors. I asked if they had done any research about the area. They said that they moved from California, so no. I said that maybe that was their mistake. They said they didn't know what I meant, so I asked if they've ever looked in our backyard. They said yes, and they said they thought the garden was cute. I said yes. The garden that now has about half the sunlight than before your house was built was a neighborhood treasure. So the guy said, well, it's not our fault you built the garden there, is it? I said, well, you guys got what you paid for, $2 million for a house that everyone in the neighborhood hates. So I said I hoped it was worth it and wished them a nice day. When I told another neighbor about the exchange, she told me that she felt bad for them moving without knowing what they were getting into. Am I the idiot for telling them they got what they paid for? So you unloaded your pent-up anger at the developers, on the couple, who unwittingly bought the house. You are the idiot, OP. That couple did nothing wrong. They bought a house on the market. Now, if they had been the ones to buy the house or land from the previous owner, bulldoze it down, and then build their $1 million mansion, you might have a leg to stand on. But from what you say, the neighborhood is taking out their frustration and anger on an innocent couple. Yeah, but I do get why he'd be angry if instead of, oh, we're sorry, we didn't know about your garden, they decided to go with, it's not our fault you built your garden there. When it comes to this kind of mega home, I agree, but I also think places need to change. This is why most grad students live in someone's attic. Many old communities completely boycott any affordable housing, even as the population doubles or more. Mega homes for the rich don't help either, but I dislike the people who want their neighborhoods to stay the same forever, just as much. OP, they bought a house. Did you research the neighborhood? Is your garden a big thing so well known it's in the papers that those people could know about it without talking with the neighbors before moving in? And specific talks. And even then, they didn't design the house, just bought it. It's not their fault, and you are being angry at them as if it is. Also, if the size of your neighbor's house affects how you act, you might want to seek therapy. You take the cake today due to treating people like crap because they apparently stole your sunlight, and you're big mad about it. These people likely had no idea about your garden or what was there before the house they bought was there. It's not their fault that the house was built there. You want to be mad? Be mad at the real estate developers. That's the actual bad guy here, not the people who bought the house. I can't believe this became a conflict. With the weather being so nice, I decided it'd be nice to have a fun little dinner party. So, I invited everyone and their SOs if they had them. One of the SOs is Rick. I've always gotten along with him just fine, but he's one of those guys who tries to make the most bizarre things into his entire personality. The biggest one is that he's a huge garlic guy. He's one of those guys who makes a huge deal out of how he uses 400 cloves of garlic in a dish. I don't eat garlic. I have GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, from purging. And unfortunately, my biggest triggers are alcohol and garlic. I'm okay with cooked onions. For some reason, in the past 2 years, my sensitivity to garlic has actually gotten worse. So, I didn't use garlic in the dishes I made. Not a huge deal, right? I have a pantry full of other spices, and I'm not shy about using them. We were eating and I got some compliments on the food. It wasn't anything special, but Rick said he liked it, but felt the food was missing something, and asked how much garlic I used. I said I don't eat garlic, so I didn't include it. He scoffed and was like, how can you not use the most basic ingredients in most meals? That's why it tastes like this. He made a big exaggerated face and put the food down. He then asked why I'd have a dinner party if I had such a limited palate, and that he wouldn't have people over for Thanksgiving dinner if he was a vegetarian. I said, I have GERD, dude. Garlic triggers it. He pointed out that I was drinking alcohol. I said yes, I was in fact drinking one hard seltzer that I had flattened, and that these are the only alcoholic beverages I can drink, and that I also had one just in case my body changes its mind. He and I went back and forth until his girlfriend, the one who actually is my friend, told him to chill. Rick got louder and was laughing like, come on guys, am I really the idiot here? With his hands out. One of the other guys said it was a little weird, but not a big deal. Anyway, it's a month later, and Rick still won't drop it. Instead, he insists that it was an idiot and selfish hosting move to drink the alcohol, but not cook with the garlic, because garlic goes in everything. So, now I'm curious, and thought this would be a fun low-stakes question for you all. Am I the idiot? Why are you friends with this monumental idiot anyway? Someone whose entire personality seems to be about one tiny thing? Who thinks he's the food police? I'm a very keen cook, and garlic is inappropriate for many, many, many dishes. Not the idiot, of course. I'm also curious, doesn't he stink 24/7? OP should still invite him, but serve him garlic. Only garlic, several whole roasted garlic bulbs, and nothing else. Is that enough garlic for you now, Rick? And make sure you get a vampire costume for Halloween, for his benefit. Rick needs to get his garlic addiction under control. It's affecting his relationships at this point. If my ex so acted that way, not simply expressing a preference for garlic, but telling the host it was rude to omit it, I would be mortified. No joke. Possible grounds for breaking up, because who behaves that way? Not the idiot, open and shut case. My best friend and I have known each other since we were like 3, and we've always been super close. She's the first of us to get married, and I'm so happy for her, and was happy to be asked to be her maid of honor. However, she and I were not expecting her fiancé to consider my ex a close friend now that he's his groomsman. We knew that they kept in touch after I broke up with him, but we had no idea they were friends. What's even worse is that my ex is using this as a way to try and force his way back into my life. She warned me when she found out, and I agreed to one night out with all 6 of us, my best friend, her fiancé, and their bridesmaids and groomsmen. I was paired with her fiancé's brother, the best man, and my ex with her sister, a bridesmaid, but he would not stick around her sister at all. He kept coming over to me. He tried to get me to take him back, and he joked that we should just go and hook up. He touched me a few times, and I had to brush him off. He was just intense. Our breakup happened a little over 2 years ago. We worked together for 5 years, lived together, had talked about marriage and babies, and then I heard him mock me to his friends and say disgusting stuff like I was so boring as a person, but at least my body was good so he could drown out the rest of me and just focus on my looks. He mocked me for being sensitive. He also mocked that I had low self-esteem from my childhood relating to my family and told them details only he and my best friend knew. My best friend asked her fiancé if there wasn't anyone else. He told her that the 2 of them got so much closer in the last 2 years and that he truly considers him his closest friend now and so on. He said we should be able to deal with being around each other for a few hours. She asked if there was anything she could do to make it easier, but I can't be around him like that. I can't even have him following me around and trying to win me back. He humiliated me. He said things that I never would have expected out of him. He got 5 years of my life and he treated me like that. We agreed that I should just pull out of the wedding. My best friend is so upset and she's upset with her fiancé. He's now angry with me and he told me I should have sucked it up for my best friend and followed through on being her maid of honor because it meant so much to her. He told me I was being petty and I should be able to ignore my ex for the sake of my best friend. I do feel bad. I hate doing this, but I know I'd feel trapped in a nightmare if I had to deal with my ex throughout the wedding. There's no doubt in my mind that I would be miserable. She knows this too, which is why we agreed, but I hate doing this to her. I always dreamed of being her wedding. And now, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The groom prioritizes his friend over his bride's happiness and he's trying to get you to suck it up. He could have chatted with your ex and told him. His behavior was unacceptable and if he tried to get close to you, he'd be dropped. But he preferred pressuring you so he could have what he wanted. I'd tell your friend that her fiancé is trying to pressure you as that would be a red flag to me. Not wanting to be touched and harassed by a creepy ex-boyfriend isn't being petty. What the heck is wrong with this guy? Also, you did ignore your ex, but it didn't stop him from harassing and touching you against your will. And ignoring your no. What else was he expecting you to do? Also, does he want drama at his wedding? I hope your friend realizes who she's about to marry. Yeah, I think you need to step away entirely. And if the ex is continuing to harass you, look into a restraining order. Good luck to the bride. Her fiancé sounds like a real charmer too, being that he knows the history and still allows this. I, 20 female, am currently 30 weeks along. I live with my parents and pay rent, utilities, and other essentials. Ever since I found out I'm pregnant, there's been a lot of tension in the house. And it feels like my parents' marriage is getting worse because of me. When I first found out I was pregnant, my dad flipped his lid because I wasn't married and because I didn't know who the father was. My mom defended me for most of his crap throughout my pregnancy and was very supportive but very disappointed in my dad for his behavior and it's been ruining their marriage. Last week, my dad demanded I move out, and I refused since I paid rent and mom doesn't want me to move out. As usual, mom defended me, but they had a big fight. I'm feeling like an idiot since I'm ruining my parents' marriage over this when I could move out, but I don't know where to go and need my mom's support. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You're an adult. If you want to have a baby, that's fine, but there's no reason to expect anyone else to support your child. Babies are loud and disruptive. Your father's done raising his kids, so why do you expect him to start over to raise yours? Not the idiot. You are not ruining your parents' marriage. Your dad is. Your mom is finding out your dad's beliefs around unwed or single mothers. You getting pregnant and having a child has not ruined your parents' marriage. However, your dad's behavior is. I'm really glad your mom is being so supportive, and I hope this situation resolves in whatever way it needs to. You have to prioritize your well-being and the well-being of the baby. Your dad's behavior affects your emotional well-being and your unborn babies. However, he feels it's not important as you and this child, but I'm pretty sure you have some clue about the baby's dad. You might have to pay for some paternity tests, but you need to find out who it is and make them contribute. Don't let him off the hook. I don't know if you want to know who the father is, but your child has the right to know and to be financially supported. And that, dear viewers, is how a deeply rooted disagreement led to a rift in what seemed like a stable marriage. If you are captivated by this tale and want to hear more stories of family conflicts and unexpected revelations, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts and similar experiences in the comments below. Have you ever faced a situation where family expectations clashed with your personal values? Until next time, remember, staying true to yourself is crucial. Greetings, my dear viewers. Today, I invite you to delve into a tale of love shattered by betrayal, trust eroded by deception, and hearts torn asunder by infidelity. Join me as we explore the harrowing journey of a husband who uncovers his wife's unfaithfulness and the painful aftermath that follows. Welcome to Caught My Wife Cheating, Unraveling the Betrayal, a story of deception and heartbreak. She all but stopped messaging me during the day. And when she did, right, it was short things about dinner or other trivial items. She started going grocery shopping alone, needed her time. This is something we used to do together. She has always gone running after work and on weekends, but now with it getting too dark and cold, her running on the weekends have turned into 3 to 4 hour events. She moved out onto the couch saying I moved around too much and she couldn't sleep. The couch then became the guest bedroom. That's when I finally confronted her. She said that she was texting the other man because he had been open about his mental health issues. She has struggled with anxiety and depression for a while, but we had it under better control with counseling and medication. She even initially told me she was going to talk to him, and because I knew him, he goes to our church and is our insurance guy. I foolishly thought that would be okay. On November 14th, I asked her if she still loved me and she said yes, but she hasn't been happy for quite a while and it's been a difficult year and she wasn't sure if she wanted to work on the marriage or not. I told her that I noticed that she hit her phone. Anytime I came into the room, that's when she told me who the other man was. She said that they texted and met sometimes for lunch, but he was just a friend. She said it over and over. As I asked questions about him, I got angry and incredibly sad at the same time and told her that it ceased being just friends when she felt like she had to hide it from me. I asked if she talked about me to him. She said she did. I told her that her affair hurt almost as bad as if she had slept with him. Over the next few days, I just could not shake the feeling that there was more going on than she told me. It's difficult because she says she doesn't want to work on the marriage. I looked at phone records and they call each other first thing in the morning. And during most lunches, then again, as soon as she gets off work, the phone call started on October 10th. So at least a month, she doesn't text him because they use Signal and I don't have access to her phone. Plus it deletes the messages as soon as you send them. Anyway, I talked to her again on Sunday and she said that they only talk and hug. I don't believe her. Maybe it's because of the lies and the broken trust, but I just feel like more is going on than she is telling me. She's currently in the process of finding a new place to live. She was going to wait until January, but I told her last night that I wouldn't be her plan B and that if she was waiting to move out to spare my feelings, to not worry about that. She put a deposit on a place today during her lunch hour. In Virginia, we must be separated for 6 months before we can divorce. As soon as she moves into her new place, that will start the separation time. I've left messages with a couple of divorce attorneys this week, but because of the holiday, they are slow getting back to me. I think I want to split amicably if possible, but I also want to know how far she has taken it. I feel this need to know if it was just an emotional affair or if it was a physical affair. Does it really matter though? Do I push it where she doesn't want to work on our marriage or just let her go and move on with my life? We've been married for 18 years and luckily have no children. I just feel so lost right now, lightheaded and in a fog. I appreciate any advice. Second story is called, Caught My Wife Cheating, found out 2 months ago. I've been lurking on this site for a month now and finally decided to post. Short story is that my wife and I have been married since 1994. And I found out about 2 months ago that she has been engaged in a physical affair with a friend of ours for about 6 months. We are both in our mid to late 40s, both in decent shape. And we have a son who has grown and on his own. I will start off by saying that I have not been happy in my marriage for a good 15 years or so. Around 2005, she had an affair with a coworker. I was devastated. I busted her. She did all the crying and hemming and hawing, promising never to cheat again. I kicked her out for a couple of months. And we went to a crappy marriage counselor who basically blamed me for all her bad choices, thinking I was at fault for it all. I sucked it up and we went on and basically buried the whole thing. She was relieved and seemed happy with me, but I kept my mouth shut and just lived with it because I thought that is what a man was supposed to do. Looking back, that year was the year my soul started dying. Now I am relieved, almost ecstatic. You all do not need to console me because I am not in pain. If anything, I am happy because now I can divorce my cheater and get out of this fake marriage without having to feel like the bad guy or that I am in the wrong. She has given me the reason I have needed for 15 years to finally escape without my friends and family, making me out to be the villain. I can say with confidence that I have been a good husband to her all these years. Am I without any faults? No, of course not, but I have never done anything over the past 15 years to warrant this treatment. She knows full well that if she were caught again, then that would be it. Which leads me to believe this is an exit affair on her part. And she wants me to bust her. That is the feeling I get. Maybe I am wrong, but I have a hard time thinking she is that stupid to cheat again after what we went through before and expect me to forgive her again. So, over the past 2 months, I have gathered all the evidence I need to divorce her. I have not confronted her yet or had her served. I do want to eventually expose her to our friends and families in order to protect my own reputation. But I have some questions. 1. Should I wait until after the divorce is final to expose her to our families and the other guy's wife? If I expose now, word might get back to her employer and I don't want her getting fired. I made the stupid mistake of marrying and living in a state where alimony is mandatory. So, if she gets fired, then I'm on the hook. She makes more than me. If she doesn't lose her job, I could ask for alimony, but I won't. 2. How do I tell my son? He was just 6 when she cheated the first time. And even though he couldn't understand at the time, he saw what it did to us. And I think he was affected by our separation. He will be pissed at her, but I don't know any reason why I should lie to him. 3. Should I ask her to move out or try to keep things amicable until the divorce goes through and just live together? I want to keep the house, and in my divorce petition, I state that I will buy out her share of the equity for. I want to start dating again soon. Is there anyone here who went through a divorce where you live with your spouse, but dated other people, or is it best to wait? Third story, caught my wife cheating. She is bipolar. Egoish. I really could use some advice. My wife is bipolar and has suffered lots of abuse growing up, including abuse by a family member and abuse by her abuser ex-boyfriend who is in jail. I am a private investigator and task force agent. And I missed all the signs. Long story short, we met online as she was unconsciously seeking for a white knight experienced in helping abuse survivors and ended up falling for me within a month. And so did I. Due to COVID, our meeting in person got delayed for months. And after we married, I discovered she was an escort, sugar baby for 3 years. She started on it as to get back at her abusive boyfriend. And also because she was conditioned to be objectified since she was little. She basically stopped doing it around 4 months before we met in person. And we married 3 months after meeting many times. I was hurting because she disappeared. And now I know why she has cried, apologized, and says she feels lots of hate, shame, and disgust towards herself. I believe her. I went to the finish line and found all kinds of texts, emails, hard evidence on her emails, drives, and even some profiles she had at some sugar baby sites. Oh boy. I regret seeing some things. She was very sloppy and hiding stuff. And once I got access to one email, the Pandora box opened. She is a student. And before I supported her financially, she had no income and no prospect of getting a proper job. The lies and the denial, the way she gets defensive is really tough on me. I offered her financial help before we met and she didn't accept it. So, as you can see, she is not after my money. Not that I have much. How do I avoid lashing out? Our relationship and arguments can get dicey in seconds as she is bipolar. And I'm what's known as quiet borderline personality disorder, in which I suffer all the pain and lash at myself, not at her. Not a great combo, but the love we have for each other is gigantic. It's been only 1 month since I found out and I already forgave her. But, at the same time, I have not forgiven myself over not seeing the red flags. Now, I feel I have to be extra vigilant with her. And she has agreed to disclose all her communications with me as I have. And we basically don't leave any room for anyone to be meddling in our relationship. I want to trust her again, especially since it happened before the relationship was real. But, for me, it felt real since day one. She says she only did it once or twice a month to finance her studies. But, I don't know, most days I believe in her good nature and other days, I worry a cheater is always a cheater. I also feel that because it happened before our first kiss, I am being a bit oversensitive, but, I was faithful for that whole year and I suffered intensely. Anytime I remember those days she disappeared, the pain comes back almost undiluted. It seems I'm on the final stages of grief. I've had a hard life and I get over stuff quick, but, I still feel traumatized and with a little PTSD. What's the best way to disengage? When our arguments start, they go from 0 to 1000 in 2 seconds. And then the blame game starts. When we are good is the best, but when we are arguing is hell, too intense, too much fire, and both of us get super hurt very quick if the other is not careful. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I have an incredibly shocking and nerve-wracking story for you. It's about trust, betrayal, and the lengths one man went to uncover the truth. Imagine discovering that the person you love most in the world might be hiding something so devastating that it could destroy your entire life together. Well, that's exactly what happened in today's story. So, sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for, I caught my wife's affair with the butler and it got worse when I fired him. 10 years into our marriage, I became very wealthy thanks to the percentage of ownership I had in my father's company. So, I bought my loyal and lovely wife a mansion for us to live in, which came with a butler who was prepared to take care of all the undesirable chores. My work schedule was pretty spontaneous because I could visit the office as I pleased or work from home. Our marriage and life together for the next 20 years after that were blissful other than some odd moments and occurrences. One day, I arrived home from work to find the butler with my wife, standing side by side doing dishes. She was drying, the easier part, but I didn't understand why she was willingly doing any of the chores and standing so close to him. Their elbows touched a few times, and I coughed to let them know I was there. My wife jumped, but he just moved away from her a little bit. She said she felt bad he was in here all by himself, so she wanted to keep him company and help a bit. She was so cheery and warm, I couldn't tell if she had any ill intentions. Another time, I came home to find her lounging in the pool with the butler gardening and staring at her. They laughed a few times before I came out to greet them. It was clear that they were at least friends, but I didn't like how friendly they were. I thought I was just being controlling and jealous, so I accepted that my wife was friends with and cared about the butler. What was the harm in that if I trusted my wife of 17-ish years at this point? We spent every moment I wasn't busy together. I loved her, and I could tell she loved me. Yet another odd occurrence was when I walked upstairs to find the butler closing our bedroom door. It had been hours since I was upstairs because my wife was still sleeping. It was odd, and I asked him if she called for him. He jumped when I spoke and turned around sheepishly, although I could tell he wanted to act normal. He stammered and said she called to ask him for some water. I accepted that for a moment, but reminded him that he was not to enter our bedroom or open the door. He didn't know what to say besides, "Yes, sir." He walked away quickly, and I opened the door to find my wife in her panties drinking water. I asked her if the butler saw her like that, and she said no, she just took off her robe again. I was skeptical. I was heavily considering hiring a new butler. It seemed like she was flirty with him, at least, and I didn't like that he was most likely in our bedroom with my wife in her panties. Before I could terminate him, I saw him smelling my wife's panties. I know, it's really bad, really ballsy. I caught him on the security camera. I told him that was unacceptable and made my wife really uncomfortable. I didn't even tell her about it, but when I told him she was uncomfortable, he instantly looked like he didn't believe me. That ticked me off. I told him he was fired. I hired someone else, this time a female maid since I knew my wife was straight. I decided that even if I was jealous and protective, it was a smart decision. 1 week later, I arrived home to find the maid outside gardening. I went upstairs and found the butler I fired coming out of our bedroom once again, except this time he was dressed in regular, but still kind of formal, clothes. He looked at me like he was amused, but inconvenienced because I was there and saw him. I asked him what he was doing in my house again, and he told me my wife hired him for something else. He said it with such nerve, all I wanted to do was punch his smug face. I told him to leave and not to come back, no matter what my wife told him. As he walked away, I went into the bedroom and found my wife wearing a skimpy little nightgown. I asked her what was happening, and she looked nervous. She said I was home earlier today than the week before, and I told her she always knew my schedule was spontaneous and not to change the subject. She turned red and told me I was freaking out over nothing. I asked her why she couldn't explain why she was here in her skimpy nightgown after the butler I fired just came out of the room. She was pretty stunned and said she hired him back for things around the house the maid couldn't handle. I asked if one of those things was helping her with her personal plumbing and lubrication. Her jaw dropped, and she couldn't look me in the eye. Her cheeks must have been burning, they were so red. It looked like blood vessels in her face were showing up. It was crazy. Her face never turned that red in all the 30 years we were together. She finally said in a weak voice that if he did help her with that, it was nothing against me. I told her that it most definitely was against me because she belonged to me. We were life partners, and only I was permitted to help her with her plumbing and lubrication. She said she wouldn't ask him to help her again, and asked me not to worry about it anymore. I asked if that meant she was admitting to sleeping with him, and she was silent. She nodded yes very minimally, with her eyes watering. Then she started speaking really fast about how it didn't matter, she just considered it a job, nothing meaningful that would take away from our marriage, and she needed me to forget about it so that nothing changed between us. I told her this was most certainly going to change things between us, and it already took everything away from our marriage. I told her we were over, called her a name, and told her to get out of my home. I was extremely careful to get a post-nup signed after I came into more money. It's not that I didn't trust my wife at the time, it was because my father and I were lawyers, which means I couldn't ever be made the fool. So my wife sorrowfully packed her bags. She had too many bags for someone with nowhere to go. The butler came to pick her up in the car he afforded with the paychecks I gave him. They stayed in a motel where the butler had been staying after I fired him. My wife had so many belongings, clothes, that she had to leave some of it behind, which I immediately told the maid to sell on eBay, or keep for herself. They stayed in that motel as long as they could, but their money ran out without me signing the checks. They tried to contact me, individually, blaming each other for what occurred and asking me to take them back into the mansion. It was gratifying that they were turning on each other and failing to survive or do anything with their lives. Even to this day, my ex still tries to ask me for help and gives me some updated sob stories about where she is in life. It is not glamorous, it's far from what she was accustomed to with me. I've become something like Bruce Wayne in town, and I have no complaints. Even though her betrayal hurt, I knew from the moment I found out that I could recover from it. Not because of my money, but because I know what love is. And it wasn't that. I am sorry your wife couldn't see what a great life she had with you. I honestly feel like the attention and sexual tension she experienced with the butler was too much for her immature brain to handle. It was a man in close proximity to her that she shouldn't sleep with, no matter how much he would have been willing. He obviously paid her attention, and when their friendship developed, she couldn't keep her legs closed. I believe she was egotistical and materialistic, and didn't have the respect she should for her providing and loyal husband. What this type of woman needs to understand is that resisting temptation pays off in the end. No man should be able to convince them to disrespect themselves and their spouses by breaking their vows and trust. I'm not sure what happened in your wife's head, but we are all here for you to offer support. Now let's get into our second story for today. One fateful day, when my wife went to work, she forgot her phone. I took the opportunity to check it, and was appalled by what I found. I should have known what was going on, because my wife, 25, was extremely excited about going to work suddenly. She said it was because she became in charge of a business task that she really enjoyed. It was something like designing different abstract images each day for a newsletter. I, 28, believed her. She was a good girl, and I was proud of her for earning us additional income for living expenses. The only other dead giveaway was that she didn't want to have sex as often, but then I knew why. It was because she was sexting with a coworker, sending pictures, and talking about the sex they had. It was disgusting. I drove to her work immediately. I backed up all the stuff for her phone, because although she wasn't getting it back, it was going to be deactivated. I brought it with me, and started by showing the receptionist, who I only met once before. Then I asked her if I could get a guest pass to go have lunch with my wife. She giggled and gave me one. She knew I was sarcastically infuriated, and this was going to be a heck of a show. She followed me in, putting up a "be back in 5 minutes" sign that she scribbled out. Everyone looked up from their desks to see me. I must have looked determined and angry. I asked everyone to gather around, and they did. I said I had some news to share about somewhere they all knew well. They were all sparkly-eyed with gossip endorphins when they found out who I was talking about. People started looking around for AP and my wife. AP came out of the bathroom just then, and we all looked at him. I announced that there was a guy who had the audacity to sleep with my wife. Some of the coworkers started shouting out insults at him. Among these, he was called despicable. Just then, my wife's head peeked out of her office. When she saw everyone looking at her, she went back inside and shut the door. Now everyone knew what my wife and AP looked like naked. Some girls whispered that they knew something was going on between them. Coworkers took the time to print/draw signs that said slanderous insults and taped them on my wife's office door. I thanked them for their creativity and left, wondering where the boss was that allowed all this to happen. When my wife got back to the house, I already had the locks changed. She took the stuff I let her have to AP's house. They both quit their jobs that day and walked out shamefully. In our town, there was just one major employer for like half the population. So when I shared with people the things my wife talked about and took pictures of, everyone in the area knew about it or saw it. It didn't take long for them to decide to move about 500 miles west. I couldn't have asked for a better outcome. Since she moved out of state, our divorce was made final through the mail. She didn't ask me for anything, thank God, but I would have been able to prove her infidelity anyway. She was done with me and the embarrassing past she was trying to forget. I felt the same way about her and couldn't be happier with the choice I made. OP, I am sorry your wife behaved like an untrustworthy office cheater. It's hard to get as low as a person who cheats on their spouse while utilizing their trust to earn income for the family. What are they even working for if not to improve the life they have at home? If they honestly believe the person they start an affair with at work or anywhere is better than the spouse they have at home, they're wrong. The grass may seem greener on the other side. Finding a person with a new set of features, issues, habits, goals, and interests is completely unnecessary. It is only a shame when a marriage or union ends because one spouse thought they found better in someone else or just thought they could effortlessly manage two serious relationships. Really, the only grounds for divorce, the proper way to end a marriage, is when one person absolutely cannot or will not honestly communicate with the other person. Thank you for sharing this story. I appreciate your bravery and bold confrontation. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Welcome back to the channel, dear viewers. Tonight, we delve into a tale that uncovers deep family secrets and sparks a heated conflict. The story is titled, I Discovered My Stepdad Abandoned His Kids and Kept It Secret for Years, Now My Family is in Chaos. Join me as we unravel the events that turned a seemingly perfect family life upside down. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into this shocking story. I moved an hour away, started a job over the summer, and became close with a few coworkers. One of them and I have become actual friends outside of the office, and she's integrated me into her friend circle. After getting to know her backstory, mom was abandoned while pregnant and had to raise 3 kids, we got close, and I consider her a good friend now. She's so sweet and nice. Last weekend, I was over at her mom's house getting ready to go out, and was looking at some pictures on her wall, and I saw one of her younger brothers and a man, and did a double take. He looks exactly like my stepfather, but younger. I tried to find another he was in, but that was it. She saw me staring at it and said that's her father, and I laughed and said he looks like my stepdad. She asked me his name, and I said it, and the color of her face left. She started calling her mom to come to the room, and the next 10 minutes consisted of me awkwardly answering their questions. Turns out my stepdad is her father. I met him when I was 6, so my friend would have been 8, and that's the time he left. He never mentioned having any kids, so it was shocking. It was horrible to hear them cry, and we never went out. I told them that he has a successful business, and maybe they could get money for back child support, but they said they didn't want anything from him. I went home this week, and things have just been awkward. My stepdad is so nice, and literally my only father figure, so to know he abandoned his biological kid is crazy. My stepdad just kept asking me why I'm acting weird, and I didn't say anything at first. My mom pulled me aside, and I told her everything. To my surprise, she didn't react. She said how he lives his life is his business, and I shouldn't judge him. This is coming from a former single mother. I remember her crying over my dad leaving us, and I was disgusted by what she said, so I told her loudly not to speak to me, and she's a hypocrite and stormed out of the house. My stepdad followed me to my car, saying that I needed to come back and apologize to my mom right now, and I told him to go and apologize to the kids he abandoned and listed their names. I told him to take care of his actual children. He looked like he would faint and went back inside the house. My mom has been sending me texts that I need to apologize to my stepdad for being an idiot to him and making him cry for days, and that he raised me and took care of me, and that I shouldn't forget that, and that if he didn't do what he did, I would be the one without a dad and to be grateful. I haven't replied back. Am I really the idiot? You need to apologize? Wow, the gall. You've discovered that your stepfather is not who you thought he was. He and your mom told you a massive lie of omission for your entire life. He and your mom walked away from innocent children he was legally and morally responsible for. The fact that he raised you and cared for you has very little bearing on this new information you've discovered. It's okay to be appalled and take time to process this shock, and for God's sake, you don't need to be the one apologizing, and you are not the idiot. Am I the only one who thinks her mom might have been the other woman who he left his family for? The timing seems suspect, plus her lack of reaction says a lot. Oof. It should go without saying that any parent who abandons their parental responsibilities is an idiot, but your mom? Oh boy, let's just say that if you ever find yourself on a lifeboat with limited food and water, make sure to sit outside pushing distance. Stepdad came into OP's life when she was 6. Her friend would have been 8 then, and that's when he left their family, so it adds up. I mean, it could have been a random chance that they met quickly after, but his willingness to jump into stepdadhood after abandoning his children so wholly also makes me feel like your theory's correct. If OP wants to know the truth, she may want to start with her friend's mom. I cannot imagine her mom or stepdad ever admitting that OP's mom knew, was in on it, or was the other woman. Wow. OP's mom is a cruel, cold woman. How awful to find out that both people who raised you are so selfish. I would hope that her friend would understand that OP isn't the bad guy here, but it may be hard for them to be around the person their father raised when he didn't stick around to raise them. For me personally, if I was the abandoned child, it would be too hard. Like, I couldn't imagine hearing stories about OP doing things with my father that he should have done with me. Update, I talked to mom and stepdad. They're saying the past is none of my business, and that even if it was, screaming to him to take care of his kids isn't the way to go about it, and that I only care about my feelings and no one else, which makes me wrong in this situation. My mom is saying my stepdad didn't do anything wrong to me, so he has nothing to apologize to me about, and I need to make a sincere apology soon. She's saying that I told him about the kids in the worst way possible, and I only said it to hurt him, so it makes me no better than him, and even worse. I'm planning a wedding and deciding everything regarding the guest list. Given the venue's small size, we have a hard cap of people allowed. We can only have 105 people. Anything after that would not be allowed due to fire codes and venue policy. I have an older sister, Mia, whose life is a bit of a mess. She and her latest ex-partner, and the dad of one of her kids, broke up in the last 6 months. She has 4 kids, who are all living at my parents' house for now. We opted not to have a child-free wedding, after there was so much drama about it. Mia's 4 kids, preschoolers to tween, will be at our wedding. She recently got an invite stating her name and her 4 kids' names. She then called me and said, I assume as an adult, I also get a +1. We told her no. She's not in a serious relationship, and she and her kids are already about 5% of our total guest list. Our caterer also doesn't charge less for kids, so we're paying about $400 for those 4 kids to be there. We don't want to pay another $100 for some random that she'd bring. She's not dating anyone, but she said she could easily find a date or bring a friend to have someone to dance with. We told her she has 4 kids there, which should be more than enough, instead of having a +1. My dad is on my side and is tired of her taking up their house. My mom is a little more sympathetic and says I should allow her to have a +1, because that's what you do for adults. Spending $600 on just my sister, her kids, and a date, when she's not seeing anyone seriously, seems ridiculous. She's pretty ticked off though. Am I being the idiot here? Not the idiot. I think you're being very generous in allowing her 4 children to attend, and she had the nerve to ask for an additional person? Wow, she's a bit of a choosy beggar, isn't she? It's your wedding and your money. If she wants to bring a +1, then let her pay the $100 it's going to be to feed that person. If your mom is all for it, then she can pay for your sister to have a +1. It's really cute that she wants to wine and dine someone at your expense, a person you've never met, and that she's not in a relationship. The wedding and reception are about the married couple after all. Who does she expect to babysit her children while she's dancing anyway? Are other people going to have to forego the dancing and babysit so she can have a good time? She can hire a babysitter and leave the kids at home and get a +1. Or she can bring her kids and no +1. Let her choose. You win either way. She's broke, so there are no babysitters, and I'm not even expecting to get a gift from her. She didn't get a gift from my other sibling last year because money was too tight. I honestly don't care about the gift thing, but I'm already paying roughly $500 for her and her family, and an extra $100 just feels unreasonable given she's already bringing 4 extra guests. My partner and I are paying for the entire wedding ourselves. Then that's your answer. No means no, and you shouldn't have to justify it to anyone. It's your wedding and your money. Don't let anyone bully you into doing something you don't want to do. Your sister will be fine without a +5. My brother has 2 kids, ages young teen and tween, with his ex. They were high school sweethearts who had kids young, never married, and split when the kids were still little. They mostly always shared custody of the kids, but for about 8 months in 2017, the kids were primarily with my brother because his ex was homeless. She got herself together again, and she got married in 2020. Her husband has 3 or maybe 4 kids, and ever since she remarried, she's been asking my brother to include her stepkids in stuff that he does with my niece and nephew, like when he took them to Disney or when he took them to the aquarium, etc. My brother has always told her no and ignored her attempts to get him more involved. The kids don't like their step-siblings very much or their mom's husband when they do see him. It sounds like he's mostly absent, so they've never wanted them included in time with their dad. Lately, she's decided that since my brother isn't giving in, she'd focus on me and ask me to do these things with the kids. My husband, the kids, and I often do things with my brother and the kids. She knows this. She asked me in person a couple of times if I'd like to bring her stepkids along with us or watch out for them. I told her no. I told my brother. He told her to knock it off. Then a couple of weeks ago, my nephew came to me and said his mom wanted him and his sister to ask me to bring the stepkids along to a water park trip we had planned for May. He said they didn't want them to come, but his mom would be up his butt about it if he didn't ask. He said she wouldn't accept it when they told her I wouldn't say yes. So, I told him I would speak to his mom. So, I called her and she started as though I had already said yes. I told her I was calling to say no and stop asking. She told me I should give it a shot and that the kids are missing out and how great it would be for my niece and nephew. She said she'd have them ready and introduce us better before the weekend so the kids and I know each other. She said it would give the kids time to do stuff with their siblings. I told her that she needs to quit trying to pawn her stepkids off of my brother and me because she's been told no each time and it's getting closer to harassment and it's unfair to drag the kids in the middle. She told me she was looking out for her stepkids and I'm a nasty witch. My brother is so tired of her, but he can't do anything other than ignore her request. He's tried, but she doesn't want to listen. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. So, she expects others to do her parenting, give her a break from her parenting, and pay for strangers' kids. Just because she said so? But she had a good reason from her perspective, so others should put up with it? The level of egocentrism is off the charts. This woman clearly does not want children, so why does she have some? And why did she marry a man with kids? Be prepared for the ding-dong ditch my kids approach of leaving them on your doorstep and driving off. When that happens, let her know in no uncertain terms. You will call the cops for child abandonment. A Ring camera might be a good idea, too. It sounds exhausting, but you're doing the right thing by holding firm on your boundaries. I can understand that it's hard for the mom to see her family not get along, but she chose to marry someone with children that her existing children don't seem to like. The best thing she can do would be to stop forcing everyone to be one big happy family and just give her kids space to come around on their own terms. My husband, 51, and I, 48, female, have 6 children. Our teen, Gianna, is a junior in high school, and our son, Riker, is in 7th grade. The kids are starting to have their school dances. The 7th grade dance is later this month, and the junior banquet is in early May. We've gone shopping for dress clothes for all the dances. We bought Gianna's dress a few weeks ago. Gianna has usually been a good kid throughout her life. This school year has been slightly harder than others, though. Around 2 months ago, we got a call from Gianna's choir teacher saying that Gianna and a few other altos were making insulting jokes about some of the new pieces she introduced, including an Urdu song and a song from the Honduras. We talked to Gianna about her actions, and we made her write an apology to her teacher and write a 5-paragraph essay on why it's important to respect music from other cultures. Riker has a friend from his baseball team who is Honduran. He was born here, but his mom was born in Honduras, and his dad is mixed. When Riker heard about this, he was quite mad, and he asked if he could have his friend come over and teach her about the culture there. We allowed this, and he came over with his parents, and they made food, and Riker and his friend talked about sports and music there. Gianna was very clearly not enjoying it, but we made her engage anyways. Our daughter and a group of her friends, including her boyfriend, got in trouble last week for making the same jokes again. We took her phone to investigate where this hatred could come from. Riker had his friends over for a sleepover the night we found out about this. During dinner, the boys were talking about how their coach would never let them live through it if they bullied a kid or made that kind of joke. My husband and I tried helping guide them through their feelings, like asking them about the diverse athletes they liked. Gianna was hanging out with friends at the mall that night, some of whom were doing dress shopping for the upcoming dance. Unfortunately, our son and the boys decided to use this as an opportunity to trash the dress, using mud, drinks, and cutting a few holes in the dress. We found out when Gianna came home, entered her room, and saw the dress. The boys were laughing, and Riker said they did it because Gianna didn't deserve to go to the banquet, saying how there could be kids that looked like his Honduran friend. We told Riker we were trying our best to educate her in a very white town. We're also white. We told him that this was the wrong way to take out his anger, and that as a result, he couldn't go to a 7th grade dance. Riker told us to shut up and spent the rest of his night in his room with the boys. Riker texted my parents and siblings, as well as my in-laws, and a few have called us and come to his defense, saying he's just a kid who was trying to cope with anger. So, now we're unsure if we are in the wrong. Am I the idiot? Edit. We haven't decided if Gianna's allowed to her dance yet, but she's already had her phone taken away as a punishment, though. You are the idiot. I don't understand how destroying a dress comes with a bigger punishment than getting in trouble for the same crime twice. What he did was wrong, but the fact that your daughter's still getting to go to her dance and out with the friends also seems like the wrong response, so I can understand why he's angry. Yeah, like is the daughter some golden child or what? Maybe the son sees the lack of true punishment or consequences as her getting away with it and is understandably angry about it. OP royally messed up here, and their half-baked solution is only going to make things worse. I agree, an appropriate punishment would be making him pay back the cost of the dress or a new one, but I honestly wouldn't punish him. I'd explain how what he did was wrong, but you're proud of him for sticking up for his friends against his awful sister. And you are the idiot for even allowing your daughter to still go to the dance. Obviously, whatever you're doing with your daughter isn't changing her mind. Maybe take a look at yourself and how you contributed to raising a brat. My parents are having people from their home country come for a visit. They told me that for the 4 weeks that the guests were here, I was to vacate my room and sleep in the basement on an inflatable mattress. I, female 26, have only been living with them because they insist. I have a job and have been working and saving money since I was 16. I didn't need their help to pay for college, and I paid them rent for my room, as well as buy groceries and help out around the house. I told them that if they wanted a guest room, then I could move out. Several condo developments in my area have units ready for immediate possession, and I have almost enough to buy one outright. I have no debt, thanks to living at home for the last 4 years. They say that I'm being ungrateful and argumentative. I don't think it's fair to kick me out of a room I rent for nearly a month. They didn't even offer me the choice not to pay for the month I don't have any room. Not the idiot, but at 26, you don't ask to move out. You sign a lease and then tell them the date you're moving out, and make sure you already have important stuff, computer, laptop, passport, driving license, social security card, etc., safe, before you tell them, just on the off chance that they throw everything away while you're at work. If you're paying rent, you have a right to your room. Imagine if a roommate asked you to pay rent, but also give up your room. Or a landlord. An actual unrelated landlord wouldn't be able to force you to stay in a different unit or room than the one you rent for their guest. Consider this a sign and a blessing to move out. At 26, you're too old to have to put up with this kind of behavior from your family. And that, dear viewers, is how a chance discovery led to the unraveling of a long-held family secret. If you are captivated by this tale and want to hear more stories of family conflicts and unexpected revelations, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts and similar experiences in the comments below. Have you ever faced a family drama that took you by surprise? Until next time, remember, understanding and communication are key to navigating the complexities of. Hey everyone, welcome to our channel where we delve into the most heart-wrenching and compelling stories about family, relationships, and the human spirit. Today, we have a story that will leave you shocked and emotionally moved. It's called, My Daughter's Cry for Help, the terrifying discovery of her stepmother's abuse. This is a powerful tale about a father's journey to uncover the truth behind his daughter's suffering. Let's get right into it. What are you doing, Bill? Can a man drink that much? Lamented neighbor Mrs. Hogreave. She looked reproachfully at Bill, who was like a son to her. I'm in grief, don't you know, Mrs. Hogreave? Bill whispered, crying and swaying at the table with the drink in his unsteady hand. His red swollen eyes looked distracted and vacant, his cheeks and chin were covered with long stubble, which made him look miserable and untidy. Mrs. Hogreave wrinkled her nose. Yes, you are grieving, but she's grieving too. The woman pointed her hand at the little crying girl huddled in the corner of the sofa, and looking from there frightenedly at her father. She may be 100 times more hurt and scared than you are, she's only 6 years old, and not only has her mother died, but her father has turned into a monster. Mrs. Hogreave stood in the middle of the room, her eyes sparkling angrily. She turned to the little girl and spoke to her. Now her voice sounded very soft and gentle. Come with me, Esther. Daddy will come and get you when he gets a little better. Esther immediately responded to her neighbor's affectionate appeal, ran up to her and wrapped her little arms around her. Her little eyes looked hopefully at the kind elderly woman. And you, Bill, get yourself cleaned up and stop drinking. Esther will stay with me for a while. And remember, you are the most dear person in the world to her now, and you have to think about her first now, and not about how you're hurt and miserable. Mrs. Hogreave took the girl and left. There was an oppressive silence in the house. Bill's hand reached for his glass, but he suppressed that impulse. Mrs. Hogreave is right. It is necessary to live at least for Esther. The man collapsed face down on the sofa and tried to forget himself in an anxious sleep. Before his eyes, as on a film, flew all his family life. Here is his beloved Helen, beautiful and happy in her wedding dress. She happily tells him, you and I are going to live happily ever after. And then suddenly a very recent picture came to mind in which she, pale, exhausted by illness, with a headscarf on her head, was speaking again. But now her voice sounded quiet and sad. You should take care of her, Esther. Don't leave her. Bill shuddered at these memories and cried again, this time of great shame in front of his wife for not coping. A few days later, he, clean-shaven and sober, stood on Mrs. Hargreaves' doorstep. "Hello, I've come for Esther," he said with excitement. "Oh, you have come to your senses," the older woman looked at him sternly over her glasses. "Well, come in, but you need to wait. I've put Esther to bed after lunch. She needs daytime sleep now more than ever. So you and I will drink tea meanwhile. I have baked donuts with her." "Thank you, Mrs. Hargreave, for shaking me up." They sat at the table and talked quietly, reminiscing while little Esther was sleeping, curled up on the old couch. "That's how my son used to sleep," Mrs. Hargreave said, looking at the girl. "He was so cute. And then he had an accident at work. It was like I lost my meaning in life. I didn't know why I live, why I work. You are luckier than me, Bill. Look, there's the meaning of your life, sleeping on the couch." Esther woke up exactly 1 hour later. As soon as she opened her eyes, she immediately rushed off the couch and jumped on her father's lap. She happily stroked his shaven cheek, saying, "Daddy, my daddy is back." At this point, I would like, of course, to say that everything had settled down. But that would not be quite true. Sometimes Bill would get depressed again, and he would drink again. And once again, Mrs. Hargreave would take Esther to her place for a couple of days. Time went by. Esther went to school. She studied well, and Mrs. Hargreave was always ready to help if Bill suddenly went out of order for a few days. And then one day, Bill brought a woman home. "Daughter, meet Paula. She's going to live with us, and I hope you'll be friends with her." A beautiful tall woman looked at the girl, slightly squinting her eyes and smiling. She was as bright as a candy wrapper, and Esther smiled at her. "Finally, Daddy will be happy. He will stop drinking and crying at night," thought the little girl. And she was right. Her father adored his new wife. But her relationship with Paula did not work out. Everything was fine in front of her father. Paula was usually smiling and talking affectionately to the girl. But when he was away, she literally abused the child. Esther could not understand why her stepmother hated her so much. Not a day went by that Paula did not scold or humiliate her. The girl said nothing to her father. She thought that if Paula left, her father would get sick again, and he would start drinking and crying at night. Noticing that her stepdaughter unrequitedly accepts all the abuse, the woman became brazen and sometimes began to beat Esther for the smallest mischief. Each time, the slaps grew stronger and more painful. "What is this?" asked Bill once, noticing a bruise on the daughter's arm. But Esther only lowered her eyes to the floor, hiding her tears, and said that she had fallen accidentally. She saw her stepmother looking at her triumphantly and haughtily, standing at the window and folding her arms across her chest. After that incident, Paula, remembering how her husband had found bruises on Esther's body, was now smarter and tried to beat her so that no marks were left. The little girl became thin, pale, and cried a lot. But still, she kept hiding the reason from her father. Then Bill decided to ask his wife about everything. "Paula, there's something wrong with Esther. Maybe she's sick," he suggested. "What's wrong with her? She should be punished. She's rude and lazy, doesn't even wash a cup after herself. She just mocks me. I treat her with all my heart, and she looks at me like a wolf." The whole time, Esther looked at her stepmother with her eyes goggling. She had no idea it was possible to lie like that. Esther said her father sternly, "What's going on? Why don't you listen to Paula? What do you want?" But the girl could not say anything. In shock, her eyes instantly filled with tears. "I want to go to my mummy," she finally shouted and ran to her room and stayed there until morning. It probably would have lasted a long time, or rather, as long as Esther's health could stand. But once again, Mrs. Hargreave intervened. She purposely spotted Bill rushing to work. "Hello, Mrs. Hargreave." The man was pleased to see his neighbor. "You've completely stopped coming to see us. In vain, both me and Esther are really missing you." "Oh, I tried to stop by the other day to get to know your wife and to talk to Esther, but right then I had to go home." "Why?" wondered Bill. "If I tell you, you wouldn't believe me anyway. You'd better come home early from work. Best when Esther comes home from school. You'll see everything with your own eyes." Bill was on his way to work, and his heart was not in the right place. There was something in his neighbor's words that made him uneasy, prevented him from thinking about anything else but what was going on at his house while he was away. Why has a good, obedient girl become frightened, withdrawn and worse at school? Paula says Esther is silly, but she isn't. She's always been praised at school, thought the man. A little later that day, Esther had barely come home from school when her stepmother met her at the door with a wet towel in her hand. "Well, come in, you poor thing," she hissed threateningly. "So, you want to go to your mother? Well, I'll give you such an opportunity. She's probably waiting for you there, you ungrateful little wretch." She slapped the girl on the back with a wet towel with a kind of rage. Esther cried, screaming in pain. "Stop it at once." Suddenly heard Bill's voice from the threshold. He decided to take his neighbor's advice after all, and what he saw made his hands shake. Bill, darling, I didn't do it on purpose. She just drove me crazy. Let's give her to your mother or to an orphanage. It's not my fault. I don't know why she makes me so angry, shouted Paula. Are you crazy? An orphanage? I'll put you in jail. I never thought you were capable of such a thing. Bill rushed to his daughter. Honey, tell me where it hurts. Forgive me, my little one. Esther hugged her father tightly around the neck and cried loudly. All the tears she had not cried for all that time were rolling out of her eyes in a hail of tears. Mrs. Hargreave quietly entered the room and looked with unconcealed contempt and hatred at Paula, who was packing her suitcase. People like you should be imprisoned or isolated from society for life, she said to Esther's stepmother. But the woman only smirked in response. It's not my duty to take care of other women's children. So why did you marry him? You knew he had a daughter, didn't you? Resented the elderly woman. Are you really that silly? I just thought I'd eventually persuade Bill to put the girl in a boarding school. Get out, shouted the man, still continuing to hold the girl close to him. Otherwise, I'm not responsible for myself. Paula, with her head held high, rattling her 2 suitcases, walked away. Bill held Esther in his arms for a long time, saying, Forgive me, my dear, that I didn't see or hear anything. You've been through so much. Remember, you must always tell me if you have something that worries you. I'm your daddy, and I'll do anything to make you happy. You're my joy, you're my life, and I love you more than anything in the world. And I love you very, very much, Daddy. A child psychologist worked with Esther for a long time afterward, and now the girl is fine. Bill did not marry again after this incident. It was enough for him once. He says that his daughter is dearer to him than anyone else in the world. And Mrs. Hargreaves is still helping them in the neighborhood. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more